but just having the right guy in Little League, man, that made a huge difference for me. But honestly, I had great coaches every single step of the way, and I don't know if I'd be where I am right now if I didn't have those coaches.
Well, good morning, Coach Chop. How are you?
Coach Ball Game. I'm doing great. How you doing, bud?
For the listener out there that can't see this, maybe you fill them in. What's going on our faces right now?
Well, let me tell you, it's our pleasure and our family's nightmares. We've got a couple of tombstone mustaches going right now. Tombstone Tuesday in honor of Brandon Belt. This is his favorite film, also mine. So we're rocking some stashes right now and looking good.
It's straight Wyatt Earp. And yeah, it's pretty cool when you have to blame something you want to do all the time on work, on a podcast. So Tombstone's definitely right up there in my top 4 as well. It's hard to deny it, just how much joy that movie brings the man and how much joy this mustache brings me. Just looking at it, you've got the handlebar. That's the upside down horseshoe there. I'm a little bit higher up, going straight Wyatt Earp. And yeah, I've got the vest, I've got the shirt, I've got the hat. I'm straight Kurt Russell today, and it feels really good.
And it looks really good. And that's really what matters. And when you look this good and feel this good, man, we're in for a real treat today with this podcast.
Big time. Well, excited to have Brandon Belt on. You know him well. I hear he's one of the funnier guys you've met in Major League Baseball. Just give us a quick snippet. Who's Brandon Belt?
Man, Brandon Belt, he's one of the top humans I've ever met. And I'm going to give you a real quick story, and then we'll go into our weeks. But I got to share the story real quick, and then we'll touch on it with Brandon. We had a member, this is with the Giants. This is a glimpse of his heart and like how much empathy he has. We had a support staff member with the Giants, not going to name any names. They got wire frauded and they were out $90,000. They were trying to buy a house and they wired $90,000 to a thief and they stole their money. So staff member comes to work the next day, obviously shook up because his whole life savings going into his first home with his family is now not going to happen because $90,000 was stolen from him. Brandon Belt got wind of that. He rallied the troops in the clubhouse, and within 24 hours, they raised $90,000, handed him a check, and said, "Here, dude, you're good. No worries, no stress." That's Brandon Belt, and that's who we have on today.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you going to feel free to bring that story up in front of him? Is he just going to self-deprecate that one all day?
He's not going to want to talk about that. Not many people know that story. That's the thing that story was never intended to get out. But like, if you want me to describe Brandon Belt and his empathy and his heart, like that's the best way I can describe him. And then y'all can fill in the gaps from there. Quality human.
It's great. I mean, this is our 6th episode and really just digging into that, the heart and the kindness of people in the game of baseball and just how much of an uptick in my happiness it's brought me, just how much joy it brings out of me when I'm on the baseball field these last few weeks. It's something important, and it's something that people don't really talk about. There's all the money talk and who's getting paid and the lockout and the negative stories. But I mean, I've never heard that story. Right. And how cool that we can shine a light on it. So super excited for him. You want to hear about my week?
I mean, I was just going to ask, you took the words right out of my mouth. What were you up to this week?
Other than shaving my beard down into a Wyatt Earp mustache and causing my daughters and my wife to disown me. There was an all-girls sandlot yesterday. The first ever. I was coaching a sandlot in Mission Viejo, and in Tustin, just up the road, Mrs. Ballgame, my wife, and our best friend, Allie, who's been an elementary school teacher forever and a baseball fanatic, she ran an all-girls sandlot, and both my daughters went. Now, my daughters they like baseball, but they don't love it. They're much more into dance and gymnastics. But the fact that it was just girls and it was female teachers or coaches out there, it made a big difference for them. And they're excited to go back next week, which they've been to my sandlots where it's mostly boys, and it's fine, it's good, but this got them excited. And for them to be excited about baseball, I mean, that just brings happiness to my heart, even though I'm not pushing it down their throats. But then more importantly, that they have a great role model that's pouring the message of the Sandlot and kindness and goodness and work ethic into them. Man, that's all I can ask for as a dad. So I love that once a week they can be excited to go become a better person, and the fact that it's on a baseball field, even better. And I know that's an issue we're trying to tackle. Why isn't all baseball like that? Why isn't all baseball across youth sports showing up once a week, trying to become a better person, learning life lessons? But it isn't about that. And I think you have a story or some nasty comments from the bleachers in the dugout that speak to that, huh?
Man, that's a great week that you had. And yeah, just to look at an opposite of that, which is how us non-Ivy League folks pronounce it. You would say a juxtaposition, which I love.
I would. I don't want to overuse that word because it's the biggest word I know. And, but I totally know what it means, and I know how to say it.
Yeah.
And it makes my mustache happy.
Can you spell it?
Well, let's not go that far.
All right, that's fair. Knowing your boundaries, I like that. So we had a tournament this last week, and a lot of good things happened. So I'll start with that. Like, it was cool. We got down 8-0 in the first game and rallied and came back and found a way to come back, which was cool. And in that game, we balked in the go-ahead run, and then still came back and scored 2 in the bottom half to end it, which was cool. It's just like resolve, right? It's not about what happens, it's how you respond. So that was cool. So in between that game 1 and game 2, I had the opportunity to sit in the stands. We had a little bit of a break. So I'm just sitting there actually just watching the team that we're about to play. And oh my gosh, the stuff that I was hearing from the stands. And I wrote down some of the quotes, and I'm just going to say a few of them. One of the parents yelled, "What are we doing?" as loud as they could. Another one yelled, "You have to know where to go with the ball." A third quote was from a coach who said, "It's like we've never practiced." I'm sure they practiced quite a bit. Another one was from the coach saying, "I just told you not to balk." And that one was a great one. We can get into that one a little bit. And there was a lot of cussing and arguing with umpires. And then the last two were pretty sure they were part of the lyrics of Alanis Morissette's song, "Isn't It Ironic?" But I had a parent yell, "This is embarrassing. We have to be better," yelling at the kids. But in reality, every parent that's within hearing range of this podcast, I just want to friendly remind you guys, and I'm a parent too, and I get it, but just remember how much you love your kids and the sacrifice and the time and the driving and the food and the hotels and all the things that you're putting into travel baseball, and put that in the forefront before you start screaming at your kid about how embarrassed you are of them and how they have to be better. Guys, we have to be better as coaches. We have to be better as parents. Our kids are looking at us.
Yeah, and that is completely ironic, straight out of Alanis Morissette's playbook there, where you are begging your child to do better, and meanwhile they're begging you to do better as well. Otherwise, they're going to fall out of love with the game of baseball or whatever sport they're playing. It seems like a broken record how we try and tackle this same issue over and over again. Week after week, there's stories like this. And I was listening to the Javier Lopez podcast this morning, which was just a few episodes ago. And same thing. I mean, he had a parent in the bleachers ridiculing his son for swinging and falling down, which just makes no sense whatsoever. And I don't want to paint a broad blanket that all youth sports is like that. It is not. There is good people out there. There's great coaches out there. There's great parenting out there. but I think we need more of it, and we need an education on the tone of which we're speaking. And I'll start with the first one. The first one on your list was what?
First one was, what are we doing?
What are we doing? Now, that could be said in a Mr. Miyagi kind of tone of sensei, what are we doing? And there's a tone of, well, let's just sit back. Let's think it through. Let's have a teaching moment here, a learning moment, without fear of losing or failure or getting yelled at. But the tone of which it was said kind of perked your ear. And speak to that one right there. Just the simple, what are we doing? It had to be a tone of anger and just, I don't know, sadness.
Anger, frustration, a good tool for our coaches out there. And I have a clipboard with me, right? And so when we make mistakes, I write it down, and I write it down with a little bit of joy in my heart, because this is my practice plan for the next week, right? So it's like stuff. It's like, okay, I thought we had that locked down. We don't. That's okay. And that's going to be, we have practice tonight, and that's going to be the last thing we do tonight. We normally do base running at the end. Well, tonight we're doing base running along with our cutoff man getting in position, because we messed that up a few times. I didn't yell. I didn't say, what are we doing? I simply wrote it down, and then I implemented it in my next week's practice. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, not an opportunity to scream and show a lack of control or poise. It's just an opportunity to learn.
And the goal I think the goal of that parent yelling that thing, their goal is to change the kid for the better, to make them improve. But we have to realize it's doing the opposite. If we can write it down quietly on a clipboard and then revisit it the next day in a practice scenario, then you're going to see a lot of growth. You're going to see that player fall in love with baseball more because they're not getting screamed at. And two, they're going to become way, way better, because that's what kids respond to. We talk about response. How do you respond? Well, a coach and a parent, how do we respond when there's failure? It's got to be, I do keep thinking of Mr. Miyagi. It's got to be coming from a tone, from a voice of, here's number one. There's Dairy Queen. There's an apple pie at the end of this game. And man, do I love you endlessly. And then secondly, how you doing? Throw it back to the kid. What did you think of that play there? What could we have done better? What do we learn from this? And when you have this calm, kind of Nick Hundley's dad tone, Javier Lopez's tone towards his son when he's coaching, I think you're going to see a lot better results, and you're not going to just push your kid out of the game. I keep seeing this visual of all of those comments being said from the bleachers and from the dugout, and this kid walking towards camera, and he's just walking towards camera away from the baseball field. And then in the background, you see parents cussing at umpires. You see coaches getting kicked out of games. You see just every parent's insecurities just coming out in the form of frustration on a little league baseball field. And there goes that kid, gone. Bye-bye game. That's not a fun game. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Yeah. So we had a play where right-handed batter, check swing, and like I use that term loosely. Like, the bat never got off his shoulder. And it's 2 strike count, and the umpire must have called it like real quietly, because the catcher rolled the ball to the mound, and like no one else heard it, and it wasn't a swing. So like everyone's like, what's going on? Like, and this play's happening, and then all of a sudden the number's like, no, that's a swing. That's strike 3, the home plate umpire. So all of a sudden everyone starts going nuts, right? I just calmly walk up to home plate. His name is Les, great dude, umpire, home plate umpire, been umpiring for 30 plus years. I said, Les, excuse me, sir, did you have that on the pitch? It was really high, the pitch. And he said, no, Chad, I had it on the swing. I said, okay, thank you, sir. I said, can you, in the future, can you please just check like that one there? Like it might not have been a swing. Is if it's okay, if you don't mind checking that. He's like, I sure will. Hey, thank you, sir. And that's it. And then I was under my breath, calmly, respectfully, kindly. And then I told my kids to hustle out on the field, and that's it. So the other coach runs over. We were in the third base dugout. Go ahead, coach.
So you treated him like a human being.
100%.
Cool.
With love and respect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the coach runs over to my side and he's like, that's the worst call I've ever seen, coach. And I said, now, you know what? He might've made a mistake, but I've made 3 mistakes since then. So who am I to judge? You know what I mean? It's just this mindset of like, okay, so what? Like, let's respond. Let's find a way. At that time we were down 8-0. You know, that game ended differently, and it doesn't really matter how the game ended. What matters is in that moment, I was a good example to the kids and to the parents and to the other coach even of like, hey, why didn't you lose your stack right there? Well, it's because I'm not perfect either, and none of us are. And I've made that mistake in games before in the past where I used to get really riled up. What good comes of it? The umpire made a mistake, and then I made a mistake. That's a double negative. And you don't have to be an Ivy League student to know I'm all over the Ivy League today, to know that
you're all
2
over
wrongs
it.
don't make a right.
Well, hey, I gotta say, we talk about that elephant and eating it one bite at a time. You coach out there that you're seeing this negativity just surrounding you, and you're thinking, well, if I approach this day calmly the way I should, it's not going to make a difference. Yes, it is. You have no idea how many parents are going to watch your gait, the way you walk around, the way you respond to each failure from your team. And when you can put your arm around somebody who made a mistake, when you can encourage your players to go give a fist bump to the person that just struck out, people see it. They don't want to see it. They don't want to hear it, but they see it and they remember it. They remember it way more than all of the negativity, all of the yelling and that nonsense. So, what you got, Coach?
So I think coaches think that they show that they care more, right? When they're showing this and screaming and this and that and wearing folks out, kids out, and umpires out. I can assure you, they don't see it that way. And one of the greatest compliments that I get, and I got this last night from a parent who was talking to my wife, who, thank God, she's my GM and she does all the clerical stuff. She's the best. But the parent told my wife, the thing about Coach Chad that we all know and we all see is he cares. And that's it. And that is it. And I don't scream and yell and this and that. But holy cow, I care. And I tied a shoe over this last weekend of a 13-year-old. And like we talk about, and my gosh, it's like you can show poise and that doesn't mean you don't care.
No, I can attest to that and say it means you care more because you are willing to create this self-control that you're wishing upon your kids, right? Yep. You wish for your kids to have self-control and make better choices and make better plays, yet you're not showing self-control in the way you approach those failures and the way you teach. I started my new season of Sandlot last night, and a lot of new faces, some old faces, but I love these advanced games that I coach, ages 10 to 13, and seeing all these blue jeans out there. And I've seen them graduate from the beginner age to the intermediate age, and now they're in the advanced. Some of these kids are teenagers now, and just to see that it really runs itself. I can just play my drum and watch these kids be awesome to each other. They've been in this program where I hire coaches that are always positive, and there is no yelling or negativity. We don't have scoreboards. And I see these kids, they that is their life now. That is that they've treated all this as creed, and they bring it. They bring positivity, and the team meeting poses are amazing. So when you surround these kids with a culture that is what we're striving for, this positivity, this kindness, that's what is important. The priorities are in the place of character. And then you start to see a lot of skill development, and then you lead them on their way when it's college and pro ball. And then, yes, things change and it's time to start focusing on a win. But at the same time, you've built so much character. You've built up this great person that they're going to win. As Dave Roberts said, they're going to win in what matters and how they treat other people. How Brandon Belt treats the employee that lost $90,000. Like, man, that's what matters.
Yeah, it's exactly. I was talking to a parent yesterday, and he was talking about Cecil Fielder. So Cecil Fielder, for those of you that don't know, stud, like, did a ton of homers. He was a little bit tough. He's a little bit tough, and so they talked about, like, man, he wasn't a super nice dude, and it was cool because it gave me this moment to talk. And this was at my little 7-year-old's football practice, and it was just cool. Like, hey guys, you should check out this podcast. Like, we're trying to tackle that right now. Of like, your talent is what it is, but what matters the very most is your heart. You're going to be as good as you're going to be at the sport you're working towards, or maybe you do something else. But what if you treated people the right way? And what if that was the most important thing? And it was cool. And they were open to it. And I touched on Mookie Betts, and they asked about Brandon Crawford. And I almost ran out of words to describe his character and his kindness and his heart. And it's just, and who we surround ourselves with matters, right? So like, who we surround ourselves with matters. And for me to be able to speak to these guys that I've been lucky enough to be around, they impact me, and I impact them, and you impact me, and I impact you. And you want to surround yourself with some character so you can improve your own character.
No doubt about it. I had a coach join me yesterday. He was one of my first assistant coaches at one of my first Sandlots about 5 years ago. And it was just me, him, and his nickname's Coach Beard because he's got this huge beard, and about 7 kids. And for him to return 5 years later and kind of see how this message has caught on, and you're seeing parents just sit in their lawn chairs during these Sandlot games, smile, watch, and just feel comfortable during a game. Man, I can't tell you how good of a feeling it is. And I brought this up to all my kids yesterday. Baseball really has a way of making you smile if it's done the right way, if you're going about it the right way. Baseball has a way of making you feel really sad if it's done the wrong way. It really can. There's that juxtaposition word again. It really has that. Just the tone of which you bring those things up, and going down that list you have there. Maybe go back to the last one, and what kind of pearls of wisdom can we give those folks so it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, the last one was, we have to be better, and we do, and that's where I just want to remind our parents how much we all love our kids, right? And it's that, let that love drive you in another direction. And when your kid does screw up, know that it hurts him way more than it hurts you. It does. So like, start thinking in that moment, instead of screaming at him, start thinking of ways that you can help him recover from it, right? And like, okay, what's his favorite ice cream? And maybe we talk about that while he's having his favorite ice cream after you told him how much you love him over and over and over again. So, yeah. And I know we have a guest here that is ready to roll. So,
oh boy,
let's let him in. Tommy Gold, let Mr. Belt in, and I'm going to give a little bit of an introduction to Brandon Belt. Let me say a few things about you, feller. I know you're not a man who talks about himself a whole lot, but I'm going to touch on a few things. This is one of my favorite dudes on the planet. He's a 2-time World Series champion. He's an all-star. He plays gold glove defense every year, and he's going to win one. I'm calling my shot on that. He will win a gold glove. Loves Tombstone. That's why we've got these stashes on. And he's got a platinum heart and character award that I give out every year, and he's gotten it 2 times. He's a 2-time platinum heart and character award. Brandon Belt, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Wow.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I got to say, I'm in my car right now because I get terrible service at my house. So I had to go down the street. I'm at a gas station right now. So I apologize for this really bright reflection I have going on right now. But,
it's actually good. Is that a Maserati? What are we in right now?
I'm actually in my Bentley. I mean, I figured we were doing a show on big leagues. I figured I'd drive my Bentley down here.
What a gamer, what a grinder to drive down to the gas station for a podcast. I mean, that's and you know, I've freaked out my daughters and my wife this morning. My daughter walks down the stairs, sees the Wyatt Earp, and it just turns back around and walks quietly back up the stairs and just disowns me. But I really look forward to opportunities when I can grow a mustache like this. And for the listener out there that's not watching, it's Tom Selleck on steroids. Thanks for making Tombstone your favorite movie, so I can grow this bad boy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I actually tried doing that at one point, and it didn't look as cool as everybody else's. They seriously actually wouldn't let me go pick up my kids at school. I was that scary looking. I had to stay like 500 feet away from my kids' school at all times.
So good, so good. Well, Coach Chop, throw us your connection with Brandon, and then I got some questions to lead us off.
Brandon Belt and I, we met each other with the Giants, and B Belt was. It's expensive to live in San Francisco, so Belter's like, "Hey, why don't you just come stay with me? You know, I'm in the big leagues. I got a big old house, and you be my driver." So I got to drive Brandon Belt, and he can speak to how good of a driver I am. I mean, I don't want to say I'm the best, but I am the best. And so I got to spend 3 years as Brandon Belt with my roommate and his unbelievable family, and he got me hooked on Chick-fil-A. And that's how me and Belt know each other. He's the best.
Awesome.
Yeah. It was you. I will vouch. You are the best driver I've ever ridden with. And I don't like to ride with people. I hate it. I want to drive. I want to be in control. But when Chad Chop's around, I want to ride I want to ride the roller coaster to the field. And it is a thrill ride from the time you leave the driveway to the time you pull up to the ballpark. And I love it. That's how I get my kicks outside of baseball.
Well, and I mean, I've got tons of questions to ask you, but talking about Coach Chad Chop, he'll send me a text. Oh, we've got Brandon Belt, we've got Mookie Betts, we got Dave Roberts, and it's like, what does this guy do to make all these gamers want to come on this podcast? What kind of a driver is he? I know he's not going to like to hear this, but Brandon Belt, for Coach Chad Chop, why'd you like riding with him?
Well, because I can make suggestions, and he would just do it. And they didn't have to be legal suggestions. Hey, man, don't stop at this green light. Let's just go right through this red light and go. We're running low on time here. We got to get to the stadium. And sure enough, we go right through that red light every single time. I don't know if I should be saying this. We might get in trouble for this, but we went through a lot of red lights. We drove on a lot of shoulders, and we passed people in a lot of dangerous situations. And I loved every second of it. In fact, we were behind. We were in a line one time trying to pull into the ballpark, and we were just going to go around the whole line on the wrong side of the road, because that's what Chad Chop does. And the only time he pulled in the reins, I believe, is when we were about to pass everybody and he saw a cop. He's like, probably shouldn't do this. Yeah, he's law and order every time. I mean, just look at his mustache. Every time. And that's the only time he really pulled the reins. And every other time, we were breaking every rule there was to get to the ballpark on time. And that's why I love Chad Chop, and that's why he gets so many guys on this podcast.
What a guy. What a guy.
Well, the thing was, I had the authority because Brandon and I both decided that if we ever did get pulled over, and we never did, because, I probably didn't break any of these rules, but if I broke any of them, and I broke all of them, we knew Buster Posey. And that was going to be our line. It was like, hey, we know Buster Posey, and we felt good about getting off.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, we had broken the rules so many times, we deserved at least one ticket. We were playing with house money the entire time. So if we got a ticket on the way to the ballpark, you know what? So be it. That's just the way it is.
There you go. Team player. Way to be a team player, Coach. Well, speaking of team players, I like to give my players on my team, and most of these kids that I coach are 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 12. I got to give them a nickname. That's the first thing I go for, because I feel like it gives this kid a superhero kind of vibe. It gives them a feel like when they go home, they can say, Mom, Dad, I'm a different person out there on the ball field. I'm Captain America. I'm Lime Stewartson. I had a kid one time, he called himself Dodger Boy on Monday. And then on Tuesday, he comes to camp. And he says, Coach, ball game, I'm changing my nickname. All right, buddy, what do you want to be called? Eternal Desert Boy. I said, buddy, I don't even want to ask about that. I'm just going to let you roll with that. But that name stuck for 5 years. He was Eternal Desert Boy. What is your nickname? Or do you have multiple nicknames? And then I know you got 2 boys, you got 2 young sons. Do they have nicknames as well?
So yeah, I have multiple nicknames. I mean, the one given to me when I got to the big leagues was Baby Giraffe, and rightfully so. I mean, we were playing in Milwaukee one day, and it's really hard to see in Milwaukee in the outfield. I don't know, they have lights that just go all the way around the stadium, and they're not high enough, I feel like. So you get fly balls in the lights a lot there. And I was playing left field, which is, I don't play out there. I play first. And a ball got in the lights and I couldn't see it. And so I was trying everything I could to get the ball out of the lights. And, while I was doing that, I looked like a newborn animal. And there's no question about it. I mean, it did not look good at all. And so the announcers called me Baby Giraffe. That stuck. Anytime the announcers say something out there, it sticks with the fans. I mean, it's not even, it happens every single time, just like Panda or whatever else they come up with. So that was my first one. And here lately, I've been Daddy. And that all started really because I was trying to gross my wife out. I just started calling myself Daddy in front of my wife, and she hates it, can't stand it. It grosses her out. So I kept saying it just to get on her nerves. And I started saying it so much at home that I just kind of carried over to the ball field. I just kept calling myself Daddy at the ball field, and it just kind of stuck, and people started calling me Daddy. And it's a little weird, but I like it and everybody else likes it. So we just keep doing it. And then, this past year, I've been calling myself Daddy all year, but it's hard to understand my humor sometimes. I'm an idiot, but we were on a plane. We had landed in Chicago, and everybody was starting to stand up to get off the plane. I was like, hold up just a second. Your team captain needs to get off the plane first. Sure enough, everybody sat down and let Captain Daddy off the plane first. And so I get off the plane. I'm just joking, I'm just playing around, but they all get it. And so we have an off day, and I show up to the field on Friday, and there's a C on my jersey. Longoria had put a C on my jersey. And I'm like, no chance I'm wearing that on the ball field. No chance at all. Well, they all told me I have to. And so I wear it out in the dugout. And seriously, as soon as the game starts, I'm going to rip it off. I'm not taking it out to the field. And I get out there, and Kapler's like, hey, you got to wear that during the game, right? And I'm like, no, I didn't know that. But I guess I will now. I mean, if the manager says something, you just go ahead and do it. So I left the C on my jersey all game. It's just a electric tape C that they put on there. And I actually played well. So people think there's something to it. Now I'm the captain.
Wow. The captain, the daddy. I do the same thing. I'll come up with things that I know irritate my wife, and I'll just kind of do it, kind of like this mustache until she doesn't talk to me for a whole day, and then I have to quit. Yeah. But the newborn animal, man, I love Baby Giraffe. I might like newborn animal even more. That's just that's strong. And then for your boys, do you got any nicknames for your sons?
Well, my son's names are Grayson and Augie. I named Augie after my college coach, Augie Garrido, who passed away the same year my son was born. And I call him Og Dog. That's just what, it's just natural. It just rolls off my tongue.
He's one of the better dads I know. And when this nickname came up with Captain, it was great because I reached out to Belcher. I'm like, man, this is great. And Brandon's like, man, I sure hope people know I'm kidding. And that he's always just joking, and he's the best, man. He's great. So a question I have for you, Belter, is what is your favorite thing about baseball?
Baseball in general or Major League Baseball?
Oh man, you run with it however you want to run with it, fella.
All right. Well, I'll do both. Major League Baseball, hands down, no question, unlimited Red Bull.
Yes.
That's my favorite thing about it. I could drink one seriously every hour, every day. Love them. Baseball in general, it's competition. I mean, I think to me, it's competition not only against the other team, it's competition with yourself. Like I love to compete with myself and see how good I can be. You know, in my mind, I know what I'm supposed to be as a baseball player. I know physically what I can do, what my limits are as a baseball player. And to me, that's to be one of the best. And you know, it's like a never-ending competition with myself to see if I can get there. And a lot of it just has to do with the mental side of the game. Mentally, how good can I get? Because that's to me, that's what separates you from other ball players. So I'd have to say the competition and also just the camaraderie with, other teammates, other staff members that may live with you for a short amount of time.
Yeah, 3 years.
Yeah, that stuff's fun to me, man. But I'd say overall, really, it's really just the competition, and I didn't know that about myself as much until I get away from baseball and I figure that I like playing golf and I love fishing, and both of those things. And you wouldn't know this about fishing, but there's a big tournament fishing thing that goes on in America, and both of those things I really compete with myself all the time to get better. And so I figured, that's probably what I love most about sports, just the competition.
So you said the mental part of the game. What is a tool that you use to try to stay in the moment for our kids and coaches out there listening?
I think breathing's a huge one, a huge thing. If you can breathe, you're going to release a lot of tension that's held in your body. And it just really takes practice, to be honest with you. I started using a sports psychologist when I was in 2013. And I finally figured out some things in probably 2020. Like, that's how long it took me to kind of work on this stuff and get better at it. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy. So it's not that's part of it, but it's also, it just took a lot of practice. You know what you need to do, but it's hard to apply it when you get into a baseball game. So it's something that once you learn something about yourself, or once you learn, or somebody teaches you something about the mental side of the game, you have to put it into practice. You can't just go out there and show up on the field and it just works. You literally have to practice it just as you would practice any physical part of baseball. And so I think that's what I did, and that's what helped me get to where I am today.
Love that. Coach Ballgame.
That's great. I mean, we talk the mental side of it all the time, and this podcast is really for that parent and that coach that is either a first timer and tends to yell when their kid makes a mistake, or just throw bags of fear into their brain as they step into the batter's box. Did you have a favorite teacher or a favorite coach growing up? Somebody that you still look back on and you're like, yeah, I hit that bomb because of that person today.
I was kind of thinking about this question a little bit, and I think this is part of the reason why I'm in the big leagues. I really was very fortunate to have good coaches every single step of the way. And I don't know if I could pick out one that, I think probably, my little league coach might have been super important, because that's when, as a kid, you don't know how to always keep your emotions in check. It's a lot harder to keep your emotions in check when you're a young fella. So, having the right coach when you're in little league to kind of calm you down, or keep your mind on the right track, that's important. When you get up into high school and college and pro ball, you've learned to kind of keep those emotions in check a little bit more. That's why you're at that level. But just having the right guy in little league, man, that made a huge difference for me. But honestly, I had great coaches every single step of the way, and I don't know if I'd be where I am right now if I didn't have those coaches.
Man, that's great. That is so fortunate. And, it's just me and Coach Chop, we've seen so many bad pictures get painted in kids' brains at an early age, where they just walk away from the game they love because they just don't think it's fun, or there's a coach that puts this bad picture in their brain. So for you to have every step of the way somebody positive that that kept you thriving, man, well done to all of your coaches. That's awesome. Do you have a teammate? And this could be growing up, or this could be in pro ball, just somebody that you go to for a laugh, maybe the funniest teammate you've had, somebody you're in a slump, you need some joy. Who's the funniest teammate you've ever had?
Well, I consider Chad Chop a teammate. And if I want to laugh, I'm going to Chad Chop. And there's no question about it. In fact, if I just want to laugh in general, I don't even have to go to Chad Chop. I just remember the time we went through Jack in the Box in the middle of the night. And that makes me laugh because
yeah, we could leave that right there.
that was a special order that night.
It was.
But other than that, I have my high school buddies are my best friends. Like I hang out with my high school buddies all the time. So yeah, when I'm going to slump, they're, we're on a little kid show, maybe.
Yeah.
I know it's tough. It's tough to stay clean, but you have text threads where they bring you joy.
Yeah, they bring me joy and send me pictures and stuff like that to help me get out of a slump. So yeah, but I remember Chad Chop a lot, because he was probably the most positive guy I've ever been around. And that's what helps me play baseball better. No question.
Awesome. Man, back to you, Fu Manchu.
Yeah, that's checks in the mail on that one, Belter. And one thing that I tried to do, and Belt knows this, is I try to use the tool of humor to just help. We talk about getting back in the moment, and I think there's power in that. Like sometimes we get down on ourselves or this, that, and the other, and if we can just laugh, all of a sudden now it's like I don't even know what I was mad about anymore. And Belt and I had some great moments, some amazing talks about life and baseball, and getting to know who he is and his heart. Golly. He's special. Belter, question I have from you or for you. And I like that you said all your coaches were important. I love that. Can you pick one that was the most impactful? I know they were all impactful, but can you pick one and then give us a glimpse of why they were so impactful? They were all impactful, but the one that you're like, man, okay, he did this and this is how it impacted me. If not, what's your favorite fast food? And I know what that is. So you can choose. This is a fork in the road, your choice.
So I would say the coach that was there when I was at the biggest point in my baseball career that decided whether I was going to keep going or kind of fall off was Augie Garrido. Because I had grown up being a pitcher. I was a really good pitcher. I thought I was going to be drafted. I was drafted as a pitcher. I thought I was going to be in professional ball, playing the big leagues as a pitcher. And then I started having
Kershaw. You and Clayton Kershaw, if I remember correctly.
I was better than Kershaw in high school.
Yeah, you were.
Most people know this.
He knows it. Hey, he knows that. He said that. He said you were better than him in high school.
Yeah. So, and I remind people of that every day. I'm not kidding. Every single day. But I started having shoulder issues. I worked out before my senior year. I had put in more work than I'd ever done in my entire life. I was working out so good. I was eating so well. And then I get around to the baseball season, my senior year of high school, and my arm starts hurting. And so I get drafted, but not where I wanted to. Go to junior college, which was absolutely awesome. Nobody'd be afraid to go to junior college. I loved it. Got drafted again by the Braves as kind of a two-way guy. Like, they weren't sure if they were going to draft me as a pitcher or a hitter, so they just kind of did both. Then I didn't like it, so I went to University of Texas, where I've always wanted to go. And my sophomore year, Augie was like, "Hey, man, we're not going to pitch you anymore. My shoulder had just really given out at that point. We're not going to pitch you anymore. We're going to let you focus full time on first base." And I was devastated. I didn't even know what to think. I thought like my baseball career was over. I knew I could hit, but I didn't know like how well I was gonna be able to hit, past the college level. I never put any time into it. but he just kept my head on straight with that, and we got out there and got to work. You know, if I didn't do that, I probably would have fallen off. You know, and I wouldn't be in pro ball. I probably would be doing something else right now. So I'm very fortunate to have had the right coach in that situation to kind of keep me on the right track and keep my mind in the right place so that I could pursue my dream.
So as coaches that are listening to this right now, super important few things that Brandon just said right there. His coach kept his mind right, and he kept you staying positive and kept you focusing on the positive. Coaches hear that and hear that message. If we're riding on kids too hard, that's not our goal as coaches. And he found a way to keep you positive. He probably gave you some steps to take, and you took them, and now you're sitting in a Bentley.
Yeah, and that's all I wanted to do. You know, I wanted to have I told my parents when I was younger, I just wanted to have a car one day where I could take the top off. You know,
That's fair.
and that was my goal. I didn't care what it was, you know. Just wanted to take the top off. And another goal of mine was when I was younger, we used to buy the off-brand cereal all the time.
I was just gonna say this. Yeah.
It made me so mad, man. I just wanted to buy I wanted to buy Fruit Loops, man. I didn't want to buy Tutti Fruities. And I wanted to buy Trix. I didn't want to buy the off-brand Trix, you know. So that was my goal. That's why I wanted to get to the big leagues. And here I am. I'm buying the real stuff now.
You're buying all the real stuff, man. Anybody needs Lucky Charms, you head over to Belter's house. He's got you.
I got it, man.
Coach Ballgame.
What's your favorite cereal?
This is, you know, I feel like I get made fun of this a lot but I really like, hands down, no question, Trix. Trix is my favorite cereal. Like, it's the best, man. I like it. Ever since it's for kids, and I loved it when I was a kid, but I love it as an adult too. You know,
So
and
getting his fruit. Yeah.
It's so yeah, exactly. You know, you got to get all your fruits and veggies in. That's my fruit.
Well, those mean words, that's just coming from a place of insecurity. So
that's
right. Too bad for that person. I'll finish with this. I was checking out your Instagram. You got a couple of cows. You got some cattle. Is this right? And maybe just talk me through, you know, why'd you get some cattle, and what has it brought to your life?
So I got some cattle because I don't know why I got cows. I just did. You know, I live in Texas in the woods, and it just felt like the right thing to do. So I got some Longhorns. I'd always wanted some beautiful Longhorns. You know, I went to the University of Texas. I'm a Longhorn at heart. I wanted some Longhorns. So I got those two cows. My father-in-law, he loves taking care of animals, so it kind of worked out perfect. He lives right next to us. So we bought those, and then after we bought those cows, we had somebody give us a male Longhorn. So we have a male out there now, and he has a good old set of horns on him, you know.
Yeah.
And he's ready to breed and make some more cows, and I'm excited about it. We also bought a horse. So we're just listen to this. Bought some kangaroos too. So I have
you did
3 cows, a horse, and 2 kangaroos. So
don't you want a ferret too? Wasn't that a goal when we were at the zoo? Weren't you looking at ferrets? Some other varmint?
I used to love ferrets, but I want an otter, you know. So I'm putting a pond in. I'm putting a pond in, and I'm gonna throw some otters in there and see if I can keep them in the pond. But they may wander off. But I will have a zoo there before too long. I'm looking at a giraffe right now.
That's all I got. I'm good.
I got 2 more. I got 2 more questions for you. One is lighthearted. The other one is about your heart. So I'm gonna ask the one about your heart first. I shared a story earlier with Coach Ballgame about just the empathy that you have for others, and you have a heart for others. Where did you get that from, and why is that important to you?
You know, I feel like that I got to where I am today because partly or a lot because of, you know, where I'm from and just my community. It took a lot of help, man, from everybody to get me to where I am. I didn't grow up with a lot of money, you know, so I had to borrow some every now and then just to go to some showcases, and you know, people taking me out to eat afterwards after baseball games and stuff like that. I really truly love the community I come from. And every community has its faults, but I really do love the people here. and I want to help them out as much as possible because I feel like they helped me out as much as possible. I'm a I don't know if you, I mean, I don't want to say religious, but I think Jesus has a lot to do with me wanting to give. I kind of got that way when I got into my 20s, and he just gave me a heart to give, and I just want to be able to help people. I don't, my parents had a little bit to do with that as well. My dad always told me to take care of your family and your friends. It just came from a lot of different places, man. And I truly believe in my heart that I wouldn't be here today without the help of the people around me. And I see a lot of them struggling, and I don't want them to. It's as simple as that. So I try to do as much as I can, really, for anybody, to help them out and make their lives a little bit better, a little bit easier. Because that's what they did for me, and I'm very appreciative of it.
And the good Lord blesses the right people, and for him to bless you so that you can bless others is a really cool thing. It's paying it forward, and that's what we talk about here all the time, is that your athlete's going to be good at sports or he's going to be bad, but where's his heart at? And that's what really matters. They're going to, we talk about as coaches, our intensity is not going to fuel the kid's passion. You had a passion for the sport, and but what's most important is you were able to culture that good heart. And man, I love that about you, dude. The last question that I have is, what is your favorite thing about the off season?
Well, this year, really just hanging out with family, and I know that's kind of a cliche answer, but I think people have to understand, like, during the season, I miss like half of my boys' life. Like, I'm gone every other week, so I don't see them. I feel like I don't see them at all. Even when we're home, even when we're at our house during the season, our mind, even in the back of our mind, it's still focused on the game later that night. I mean, you can't 100% focus on your family because you're constantly thinking about the game and what you have to do to get ready and perform at the highest level. So just not having that in the off season and getting to pour like 100% into my family, and also fish. I like to fish, and we just went to Disney World. I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved it. Went to Universal Studios. I love roller coasters, man. That's what I love about the off season, really. Roller coasters. I don't get to do that during the season. So,
well, I mean, when I was driving you in, it was a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, that was the closest. That's why I liked it. That was the closest I get to a roller coaster. But yeah, just not having a schedule. Hanging out with the family, getting to do podcasts with Chad Chop and Coach Ballgame. That's my favorite.
Go ahead. I know what the name of this podcast. This episode is going to be Tombstone, Sea Otters, and Roller Coasters.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I love it.
That's perfect.
That describes me perfectly.
So I wrote down a few things about you, and we had Javier Lopez on here a few weeks ago, and I made a comment about how if I were starting a team, he would be on it. And that means not just a baseball team, not just anything. If we had any sort of project, I would want him on that team, and I want you on that team. And I wrote down some characteristics of why I would want you on that team. The first one is you're strong as an ox, and that's a fact. That's a fact. You're handsome, you're funny, you're tough, you're fearless, you're kind, you're empathetic, you're genuine, and you're humble. And I need folks to know that about you, and it's important. So I just need you to know that if I were ever starting a team for anything, you're on that team. And it's so far it's you and Javier Lopez that I've proclaimed to be on this squad. But I love you, buddy, and you're the best. And thank you so much for taking the time today. Please say hi to your family.
Oh, I will. And everybody knows that I love the chops, man. And Chad, you're the best, dude. I love talking to you no matter when it is. I might just show up at your house one day just to hang out. I'm not even going to let you know. We're just going to hang out and drink some Red Bulls, man. So thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. And anytime you need me, give me a holler.
Thanks, buddy. Have a great day. We appreciate you.
All right. Thanks,
awesome.
Guys.
See you, buddy.
Boy. Well, we got a guy that loves kangaroos, sea otters, roller coasters, Tombstone, and being kind to other people. Pretty good get there.
So I thought it was ferrets, but as soon as he said otters, it was otters. So we're at the zoo in Scottsdale, and he sees this otter, and he's like enamored with this otter, and he's like, I got to get me an otter. I'm like, what are you going to do with an otter? Like, where, and he was just adamant. He had to have this otter. And oh my gosh, he's the best, man. He's a goofball.
He just is. But I mean, you could see that kind of mentality. It was spurred on by coaches and mentors along the way that he really looks up to, and he enjoyed hanging around, and that kind of chill vibe, it carries into the batter's box. You're not going to think about breathing and just slow down that heartbeat if there's fear involved. But he's got this very cool mentality, and it just carries right into his high leverage situations. He had his best year, arguably, this past year. He's rocking and rolling. So, man, he sure loves you.
Hey, one of his he's unbelievable. But one of his bigger moments on a baseball field was 2014 playoffs. And for those of us that don't remember that, I was there. 18th inning, right? So you have Yusmeiro Petit, who's thrown like 6 or 7 shutout innings every bottom half of every inning in Washington, right? Not allowing Harper and the boys to score. And that was the best team in baseball that year, the Nationals. And this is game 1 of the NLDS. 18th inning, it might've been game 2. Belt hits a homer, and oh my goodness gracious, we went nuts. It was unbelievable. And it was just like a moment where he put the team on his back. I don't think we were going to score another way. And Belter, strong as an ox and fearless. And holy smokes, he hit that.
Love that list. Well, hey, this is always one of the highlights of my week. Next week, we got another World Series champ coming on, Mr. Adam Kennedy. He's a California boy, but he won a World Series for the Angels in 2002. He's also a father of a young ball player. So we'll get to talk to him about winning a World Series and being a baseball dad as well. So just a really great guy.
Man, I grew up watching Adam Kennedy. So I grew up 5 minutes from Angel Stadium. So vividly remember that 2002 playoff run. What a run. And they beat the Giants in game 7. And Adam Kennedy hit 3 home runs. And I want to say in the NLCS against the Twins, I think, if I remember it correctly. It might not have been the Twins. We'll have to fact check that. But he hit 3 homers. Was it the Twins?
I think so. I think maybe ALCS 02. Yeah, you might be
ALCS.
Right.
ALCS.
Hunter?
I think so.
Yeah.
We'll know by next week. We got to know by next week.
There you go. We'll do our homework. Man, rock and roll. Keep at it. See how long you can keep that mustache going.
This has to come off tomorrow or today. I promised my 7-year-old, he said by the time he gets home from school, this has to come off. And he's huge friends with Grayson, who's Brandon Belt's oldest. So I told him, I was like, hey, I'm doing this for Brandon. He goes, no, you're not. He goes, Brandon's not cutting out a mustache. He goes, he wouldn't do that. He wasn't buying what I was selling. And so I had promised Boaz, I got to have this thing off by 3:30 this afternoon. But hey, I want to say one thing before we go. And I wrote this down and I want to touch and challenge our listeners every week. And kids always say they want to rake, right? They want to hit the ball hard and rake. That's a term they use. Well, I came up with an acronym of a random act of kindness every day. So that's rake, RAKE. And I took the liberties of, not including the O because I needed to spell a word. But try to go out there every day and rake and find a way to be kind and loving and hold a door open or say a kind word, or maybe bite your tongue when you could have the ability to say something that may not be kind. But let's find a way to have a random act of kindness every day and just see what that does in our communities.
Boom. I love that because that's got a connotation of hitting a baseball, raking. But when you throw random act of kindness every day, that's what's more important than actually raking balls out of the ballpark. I'm using that. I'm stealing that at my sandlots.
That's yours, Coach Ballgame. That is yours as well as it is mine. And any other coach, please take that. Have a great week, man. You are the very best.
You, man. It's all about you. Kangaroos, sea otters, tombstone, roller coasters, and raking.
Let's go. Have a great week.